But first, we have Stuart Stevens, who is a legendary media consultant and political strategist who's worked with George W. Bush, Mitt Romney, Bob Dole, and Chuck Grassley. He's also a senior advisor to the Lincoln Project. Stuart, thanks for being with us.
Here, man.
We have CNN political commentator and former Republican communications director on Capitol Hill, Tara Setmeyer. She's also a senior advisor to the Lincoln Project. Tara, it's great to have you on, and thanks for making the time.
Of course.
And communication strategist, former chair of the New Hampshire Republican Party, and my fellow co-founder of the Lincoln Project, Jennifer Horn. Jennifer, you have the most amazing Zoom backgrounds tonight. You and Tara, I think, could compete for the best Zoom background tonight. Thank you for being on with us.
It's good to be here.
And before we get started, CJ, who's helping us behind the scenes here, is going to roll a quick introductory video because this is the first event that we've done with Crowdpac, and we want to sort of set the table and give everyone an idea of where we've come from to where we are. So CJ, could you roll that intro video?
The Lincoln Project, launched today and formed by several of Trump's fiercest conservative critics, has already raised over $1 million in its pursuit to defeat Donald Trump.
Announced the creation of the Lincoln Project, including George Conway,
Steve Schmidt,
John Weaver,
Mike Madrid,
Jennifer Horn,
Reed Galen,
Ron Steslow,
Rick Wilson.
I would have them change the name to the Losers Project.
The president not happy with a new ad from a group of conservatives who haven't been shy in going after him.
Shortly after that ad aired, the president of our country logged into Twitter to settle some scores. An absolute hissy fit, a full tantrum.
Group called the Lincoln Project. They just released this video.
Woof, that is
The
sad.
Lincoln Project recently launched that ad. The group plans to purchase television and digital ads in several battleground states. The PAC's mission is, quote,
we are Republicans and we want Trump defeated.
It's okay not to like this guy and to think he shouldn't be president, and it's okay to do something about it.
To go into the swing states where the race will be decided in 2020 and to make a meaningful difference.
The Lincoln Project is about defeating Donald Trump and Trumpism at the ballot box.
Thanks, CJ. Stuart, I want to turn it over to you just to open things up for us. And given that we're talking to a new audience here, which is different from the town halls and the events that we usually do, would you mind introducing the Lincoln Project, the importance of our mission this year? And then I'd also love for you to discuss a little bit about how the Republican Party evolved into the party of Trump, and why that's encouraged so many to leave the party, as you've talked about in your book.
Yeah, well, actually, both of those are connected. The Lincoln Project really grew out of a group of political consultants who worked on a lot of campaigns. It was John Weaver's idea, and sort of had three choices in this race: either be for Trump, which wasn't going to happen, don't do anything, which kind of sucked, or try to use the skills that we've acquired over the years to try to defeat Donald Trump. It's a group that came together with one mission, which was basically to defeat Donald Trump and to defeat Trumpism. I think it's a broad umbrella. I think different groups, different people involved in the Lincoln Project come from different ideologies. People probably will take different paths after November 3rd, in part depending on what happens after November 3rd. But this is a big cause. And in the history of America, big causes unite people. I joined it after it was founded. And I have to say, it's the best working experience of my career. It's a very low friction, high functioning group that really focuses on its mission. And the support that we've gotten has been tremendous. I know before it was founded, there was a question whether or not there would be much support for it. And there's been tremendous support for it. And we can't thank everybody enough. We wake up every day with one mission, which was to take on Donald Trump. And there's been a lot of talk about why our ads may be better than the Biden ads or better than Democrat ads. I don't really think they are. I think they're different. I worked in a lot of races. I worked in 5 presidential campaigns for Republicans. It's very liberating not to have a client. We get up in the morning, we decide what to do, and then we do it. And no one has to worry about any of the things you do need to think about in the campaign, whether or not what you're saying is on message with the candidate. We can take it directly to Donald Trump. And a lot of us have worked with the people around Donald Trump, for better or worse. Like Jason Miller was a former intern of mine. And we understand these people, and we understand Donald Trump. And I think it's been very successful at getting inside Donald Trump's head and disabling that campaign. This is, I think, the most dangerous period in American democracy between now and the election since the Civil War. And I say that as someone who is the most anti-conspiracy theorist available, out there. I mean, if you work in politics, you realize most of it's pretty boring. It's just blocking and tackling and doing your job. But this is really a dangerous period for America. Donald Trump is unlike any president we've ever had. He doesn't care about the normalities and the basic social fabric that holds together a civil society. And as much as I hate to say it, I think the Republican Party has failed this moment. This was a moral test for the Republican Party, and it's failed. We're in this thing. I think it looks good today, but we're running against someone who will do anything to stay in office. And we need to just keep fighting and really appreciate everybody's support.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you say that it's one of the most incredible working experiences in your career, that's a big statement considering the career that you've had. So thank you for sharing, Stuart. Tara, I would love for you to spend a couple of minutes explaining why it's important that we not just take down Trump, but to end Trumpism. What does that mean? And who are we targeting and why are we targeting them?
Yeah, I'd also like to echo Stuart's words about this being an incredibly rewarding experience. As someone who's been involved in politics and Republican politics for over 20 years, it's true. There's a certain amount of liberation going into this because we're fighting the good fight and fighting a fight that will place us on the right side of history. And it really is an honor to fight that fight alongside everyone that's involved here with the Lincoln Project. And the support and the movement, the momentum that we've created with so many people of like mind that are deciding to choose country over party this time around. We found common ground in our fight for the democracy that we love so much. When Ben Franklin said, "You've got a republic if you can keep it," our fight is to keep that. So that means defeating not only Donald Trump, but Trumpism, which is representative of something that is a very illiberal form of government. It's anti-democratic. It's very authoritarian in nature, which is anathema to what we as Republicans and conservatives initially believed. But taking the party out of it, it's anathema to what we as Americans who believe in our constitutional republic believe. And that's why it's so crucial that we not only defeat Trump, but the ism that he has created around him, this cult of personality that's turned into this nationalist movement, this populist nationalist movement that is something that is not congruent with our democratic values in this country, which is what makes this fight so important. And it's we can fight the policy differences later. That's secondary right now, to making sure that we have an America that we recognize for the next 4 years. And it has been an experience for sure. A lot of us are actually, it feels almost like a civil war. Stuart mentioned that this is one of the most perilous times in America since the Civil War, and I would happen to agree. Carl Bernstein, the famous journalist and colleague of mine at CNN, once said recently that we are in a cold civil war. And that was very poignant, and it struck home for me because that's what it feels like. Yeah. And we've been fighting, brother against brother politically in this fight. All of us have made a lot of sacrifices to do the right thing. And it really cannot be emphasized enough why our voices being out there, letting other Americans know that they are not alone. There are a lot of folks out there who feel politically homeless right now. And part of what motivates us is to let those folks know that they do have a voice and that there are others like them. They are not alone. And there are a lot more of us sane people out there than what you see on the extremes. And I think that undergirds a lot of what we do here at the Lincoln Project. And when the Lincoln Project first started, I was one of the original senior advisors, and no one knew that we'd be facing a global pandemic where we're literally voting for our lives. This has taken on a new sense of urgency and a new sense of purpose, I think, for us that will carry on beyond November 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tara. Jennifer, Tara and Stuart have both talked a lot about why we're here and where we've come from. And I'd love for you to focus on the path ahead for just a minute, which is electing Joe Biden. I think there was a lot of speculation earlier on about whether or not we would endorse Joe Biden, which kind of puzzled me because I don't see how we could have ever succeeded in our mission to defeat Donald Trump without, right? But we did. I think we actually had to do it twice in order for people to believe.
To convince people. Yes.
People, right? So obviously we're actively supporting Joe Biden, doing everything we can to help elect him, and so I'd love for you to talk about the breadth of support, the breadth of the coalition that we have put together for Joe Biden, and what it looks like to move forward through Election Day as Republicans, Independents, Democrats, what has truly become an American coalition.
Right.
Yeah.
The coalition of the decent.
Yeah.
As we say.
Well, I'll start by saying I really sort of resent that you have me speaking after Tara and Stuart. I don't know how I can possibly, between the two of them, what can I possibly
You're
say
up to the task.
will add to the conversation?
Absolutely. You've got it, Jennifer.
It is, for starters, I would say it's really an honor to be part of this group, Ron. Not just these folks on the camera with us today, but this original group of founders, the senior advisors who have come aboard. These are all really good people who are led by a genuinely honorable mission, an honorable desire for our country. And even though we all come from kind of a different place on the political spectrum, a different place within the party, to both what Tara and Stuart both said, it's been an honor to be part of this, especially as it's kind of blown up and become very effective and, really starting to get our message out there. And I think that the reason we are as effective as we've been so far, and I, cross my fingers and knock on wood and everything, because the measure is Election Day. And so until that comes, we don't really know. But I think part of the reason that we've gone as far as we have is because of this extraordinarily broad coalition of Americans who have come to the cause. Something I frequently say is that the one thing that Donald Trump can actually take credit for is uniting the majority of the American people against him. That's one thing that his presidency and his everything about him, has done for the American people. And when you look at who's with us, it truly spans the political, social, and economic spectrum and cultural spectrum of our country. And I think that's pretty extraordinary. Yeah. I believe that the reason that all of these people from all these different walks of life have been able to come together is that we all share, if you are a lifelong liberal versus a conservative, Republican versus a Democrat, all these differences that we have go to the side when we talk about our country. And think about the moments that we've lived in, whether it's from World War II, up to 9/11, and now, kind of confronting what I would say is an existential threat to the republic in the form of Donald Trump. Americans set their differences aside and they come together when we need them to put country first. And that's what I think we see happening here. All of these good people who care so deeply about what kind of world, and I talk about my kids all the time. I'm a grandmother now. I have 3 grandchildren, a 4th one on the way. Everything I've ever done in politics has been motivated by what I hope for them, with the kind of America I want my children to raise their children in. And I think this is one of those moments where Americans are looking, whether you've had you've lost a loved one to the coronavirus, if you've had to care for a loved one, if you have an elderly parent who is in a nursing home that you can't visit, you had somebody facing a critical illness who's been impacted by the coronavirus restrictions, all of these horrible things that have happened that we now know were not a result of Donald Trump mismanagement, but instead a result of Donald Trump making conscious, informed, strategic choices to put the American people in this extraordinary place of danger to protect his pocketbook and to advance his political ambitions. That's the kind of thing, as horrific as that is, that makes the American people put aside their differences and say, we're going to come together, we're going to stand together, that we share a principle and a value here that is greater and more important than any of the things that divide us, or that we have differences on, and we're going to do the right thing in this moment. I think that's what this is all about. And Ron, that's why we're all here tonight, why it's so important for all these folks who are listening in tonight, that to give their support to what we're doing. We humbly ask for your support on Crowdpac. We are doing everything in our power to make sure that Donald Trump does not become a two-term president. We could not take even one step forward without the support of the millions of people who have come to this cause. And we're in this moment right now looking ahead saying, we've got 6 weeks left, we got to get it done. And we're just so grateful for this extraordinarily large coalition of Americans who have come to the cause.
You're so right. Thank you, Jennifer. And I want to get to some questions here because we've got a lot of them, and we'll try and get through as many as we can here. But let's start with Brian Well, who says, for the next few weeks, how do we keep the news cycle off of what Trump wants and direct it to the stories needing to resonate in his defeat? Tara, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, it's difficult to do because Donald Trump is so good. He's a master of distraction, right? And a master of deflection and a master of projection. Oftentimes what he accuses other people of doing, he's doing tenfold. And, the news media was a bit negligent and complicit in in the way they covered him in 2016, because it was such a new phenomenon. And it was a political train wreck every day. So it was like the political equivalent of if it bleeds, it leads. And so it was difficult to not focus on everything crazy thing Donald Trump said or did. I think there's a certain amount of fatigue with that, with the country, which is what you're seeing in polls and in a lot of reasons why voters, particularly women, are turning away from Donald Trump in droves. There is a historic gender gap right now in favor of Joe Biden. And I firmly believe that women are going to be the difference here in this election. But how do we keep the focus on what matters? It's social repetition creates reality. We need to focus on the issues that matter over and over again. We cannot forget the fact that there are 200,000 plus Americans dead as a result of COVID. Many preventable deaths if the president of the United States had acted like a leader and not put his own reelection ahead of American lives. That cannot be forgotten. It's not just lives in real lives, it's livelihoods. People have lost their businesses, their homes, they've lost everything as a result of this. And it's going to take real leadership to bring us back from this. So it's hammering home on issues that affect Americans' everyday lives, because we're faced with that constantly. And I hope that the news media doesn't, as my grandfather used to say, fall for the okie doke and just follow every shiny object that Trump throws out there. Now, obviously, there's going to be some big things like the New York Times story and things about his taxes. And I hope that there is more effort to illuminate a lot of the misdeeds and mismanagement and things that Trump has done that have actually hurt the American people and hurt this country against the country's interests. There needs to be a focus on that and how it impacts everyday lives.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Stuart, Richard Keenley writes, what impact will Trump's taxes have on the election? And we've got to address this. So why don't you take the first stab?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, she prefaced it by saying, we don't know. and we're going to have to find out. Causality in politics is always difficult to ascertain, like what is moving people. But where are we? So I think it's pretty safe to say that if the election were held tomorrow, Donald Trump would lose. So Donald Trump is in the new customer business. People have either left him or not joined him. So the way I look at this is, I don't know if there's many people out there who are going to vote for Donald Trump today. They're going to read this about taxes and say, well, damn, I'm not going to vote for the guy. But there's this other large group of people out there, some of whom voted for Trump before. And there'll be some hydraulic pressure because of the party and other issues that they might drift back to Trump. And I think that is the greatest danger that Biden has. So I see something like this tax issue as sort of a speed bump that's between where you are and getting to Trump. And it's just like, one more thing. I mean, I pay taxes. I work really hard. Everybody I know pays taxes. This guy pays $750 taxes. It's not fair. And it goes to the essence of Trump, which the great myth of Donald Trump is that he was on your side, when in fact, you're the mark and he's the con man. And this has been true throughout his career. So I think one of the questions, in presidential campaigns, you should always ask yourself, would you rather be the other guy? Would you rather be who you are? And in this case, I'd rather be Biden. I think we're in the nature of debating how much does it help Biden. And you win every day in a presidential campaign, and you probably wake up on November 4th and you're president.
Yeah. Okay. I know that the debate is tonight. I want to keep this one on the briefer side because this video is going to live in perpetuity on the Crowdpac website, but we should address it. And so we have a question here from Ken, who says, I know the debate will be top of mind, but is the Lincoln Project targeting Republican senators besides Lindsey Graham in your battleground states? For example, with your ad that calls them all out. Jennifer, do you want to just touch on the debate tonight briefly, and then talk about the Republican senators that we are targeting? Because I think this is a point of contention for some Republicans, and it's also a point of confusion for some Democrats who don't really understand why we're going after Republican senators as well as the president.
Right.
And yeah, maybe you can explain that to folks.
Well, let's start with the debate really quickly in a way that will, to the phrase you use all the time, Ron, evergreen. The debate tonight is very much, just a kind of a moment, a snapshot of what this entire race has been about all along. It is about a supremely decent, good, experienced man who loves his country more than himself, running against the most narcissistic, dangerous, divisive, bigoted, misogynistic person who has ever held the office. That's what this whole race is about. And that's what the debate is going, that's how the debate's going to unfold. Will Joe Biden have a good night or a bad night? I don't know. Who's to say, right? We all know how Donald Trump is on the debate stage. Will Biden be able to sort of, push him back, hold him to account? To a degree, it doesn't matter. What matters for every single person on this call and all of us who's part of this coalition to remember is that Joe Biden is a good man. Do I agree with him on everything politically and legislatively? Certainly not. I'm a Republican. I'm not trying to make the argument that Joe Biden's going to be a Republican president. I'm making the argument that he's going to be a decent president, a president who with empathy and compassion, who embraces humanity, who even when he disagrees with me will respect me and listen to me. That he will always put our country first. And like I said at the beginning, that he cares about what kind of world my children are going to raise their children in. Yeah. None of that can be said of Donald Trump. So from my perspective, that's what this debate is about. It's what the next debate is about. It's what every single day of this campaign is about. Now, as for the senators who may be finding themselves in an uncomfortable place with the Lincoln Project right now. It goes back to what Tara talked about earlier, the ism, the Trumpism. What is Trumpism? Donald Trump has been allowed to be as destructive and dangerous and divisive as he's been by a Republican majority in the United States Senate. This could have been a whole different story had Mitch McConnell and his crew stepped up and fulfilled their constitutional obligations to be a check and balance on the executive branch of the government for the past 3.5 years, almost 4 years. We could be in a whole different place. Every one of them, to what I said earlier, have made a conscious, informed, strategic choice. They thought that by embracing Donald Trump, they would somehow advance and protect themselves politically. They put their political ambitions above the best interests of our country and our children. So they're going to be held accountable. And it's absolutely a lot more than Lindsey Graham. Somebody should give Senator Collins' office a call and see how she's feeling today. You know, Senator Gardner has felt it from us, Tom Tillis and Joni Ernst and
Martha McSally.
Martha McSally. Exactly. So, you know,
Martha, I need your lunch money, McSally.
Martha, I need your lunch money, McSally. And Lindsey, who had a similar one as well. So, but you know, we should say, look, none of us take joy out of being Republicans who are going after Republicans. If you've read Stewart's book, if you haven't, you should. But it goes to it is a great like, disappointment is not a strong enough word. It is heartbreaking to be somebody who was the chairman of a state Republican party, look at my party and realize that they are not at all what I believed us to be, what I fought for us to be. So are some of the senators going to be targeted? Absolutely. That's politics, folks. You know, they open the door.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to run a few minutes long here. I hope that's okay with you all. We'll try to wrap up in just a few minutes. But Stuart, I want to go to you to help land the plane here, because we wouldn't be here if it weren't for the hundreds of thousands of people who have stepped up to support us, who have given us $5, $10, $50, $100, $1,000. And you know, our average gift at the Lincoln Project is $50 something. This has turned into a true movement that none of us could ever have expected or anticipated. And we have a comment here from James Kinzer, who says, "Giving you all the support I can, retired and fixed income, but I've given twice and will contribute again." James, thank you. The number of people who constantly send messages like this with words of encouragement along with their contributions is you don't understand how much it means to us. But before we ask you to make a contribution here through Crowdpac, Stuart, I'd love for you to talk for a couple of minutes about why the Lincoln Project has become the most effective tool against Donald Trump. Why have we been so successful in prosecuting the case against Donald Trump? And can you describe, sort of, in terms of campaign strategy, the lane that we fill that no other organization is able to do, and essentially why investing in the Lincoln Project, you get your biggest bang for your buck?
Well, you know, it's been really interesting to me to discover why it's different. And I found that not having a client is very liberating. In a campaign, if you go out and you say you call your opponent a liar, your candidate has to back that up, because if you make an ad saying your opponent's a liar and she gets asked, if you agree with that, you have to agree with your own advertising. We don't have that burden. We don't have a mission of working for a candidate or a party. We have one mission, which is working for what we see as the greater good. And that is tremendously unifying. And we're just about this for one reason, really. And, you know, I think most of us would a lot rather be doing something else now. A lot of us would rather be working for a Republican we could be proud of. But that's not the party. That's not the reality. Watching the Republican Party now, to me, is like watching your friend drinking himself to death and just won't stop. So I think that we try to speak to what it is that's at stake here. And we can speak to it honestly. I think most of us have really come to grips with our own personal, really personal pain of seeing an effort, a party that we had supported, abandon its principles. And the only way sort of face that, I think, is to look at it honestly. And our goal really was to get a certain number of Republicans who voted for Donald Trump to support Joe Biden. And I think that's happening now. I think that we've helped. But we also just have a unique role in being inside these people's heads. We know these people, and they know us. And on some level, most of the people who work for Donald Trump are sort of ashamed of it. Mm-hmm. That's one of the problems he has. The reason you see the group that you see around Donald Trump is it's people that a lot of people just wouldn't work for Donald Trump. And look, most of us go through life, I certainly do, trying to avoid moral tests. I mean, we want to just live our life. But this really is a moral test. And if you ever want to ask yourself, like, what would you have done in the civil rights movement? What would you have done in Vietnam? This is our moment. And we don't get to pick history, but history can pick us. And I think that's what's happened here. And, you know, in the long stretch of these things, we have it pretty easy. I mean, you ever wondered what side of the Pettus Bridge you were standing on back in the Civil Rights Day? We can cross that bridge and there's nobody waiting for us with dogs or fire hoses. I mean, those who have gone before us have paid a lot higher price than we're paying and have sacrificed a lot more. Listen, I think we're close. I think that there's a lot more of us than them. And if I ran the Democratic Party right now, I would be out there with a message that walk confidently. This is our moment. We are going to seize this. Right. We are on the right side of history here. This is our destiny. We're not going to be denied. And I think that's true. I think that greatness is just out there. And what we have to do is just wake up every day, do our job, and the results will pay off.
Yeah. Thank you, Stuart. I don't think anybody could have said it better. If you are with us and you are compelled to support this mission, the work that we're doing right now, you know how to help. There's a button right there on the website where you're watching. Whatever you can contribute, we would be grateful for. And I don't need to tell you that we are in the most critical fundraising period of the election right now. I know this video is going to live for a little while, but right now we are right before the third quarter fundraising deadline, which is tomorrow night at midnight. And what we raise right now in the next several weeks informs what we're able to do through Election Day. And I don't need to tell anybody watching what the stakes are, and they just keep getting higher. So if ever there was a time, if you've been sitting on the sidelines, if you've got $50 to spare, if you've got $10 to spare, we would really appreciate your support if you could contribute right now. Also, if you can't support, but you want to get involved with us, www.lincolnproject.us. We would love to have you. You can sign up there. And we can plug you in to any number of volunteer activities, especially if you're in one of the battleground states that we're focusing on. We would love to have you and put you to work. Jennifer, before we go, would you like to offer some closing remarks to our friends at Crowdpac?
Put it on me. Absolutely. We got to start with gratitude every time. Right. I am so grateful. When we first started this, we knew how important it was to all of us and maybe a little circle of folks around us. As it has grown over the last 8-10 months, it has been so gratifying to realize that we believed that the American people would be with us, and they are. That we share these common values regardless of our differences, that we are united by our love of country, by our love of our families and our children, and the future that we imagine for them, that no matter who we are, that we can come together in these moments, that we can step into these moments when our country needs us. And that's all that this is about. All of us coming together and recognizing the threat that we face and standing together to defeat it. That's why we're here. That's why we've done everything that we've done since we got started. That's why we are asking you to join us. We are so grateful for all those who already have. And just, I think everything we do has to begin and end with gratitude. Thank you so much to everybody out there who's part of this movement, who's helping us to advance down the field. We're almost there. We are almost there. We cannot let up, can never let up until we've crossed the line.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Crowdpac.
Wait, one last thing.
Go ahead, Tara.
No, I just to bring that all home.
Yeah.
It's a lot of folks look at what's going on today and they think that, well, what can I do to help? How can I make a difference? And there are some people who are not in the position that we're in with the platform that we have that have same impact, but you do have an impact and you can do something. And it's to allow us to be your proxy. And the way to do that is to support us, whether it's through donating or whether it's through helping to spread the word. Every single person has a role to play. There is no one that has any excuse now, given what's happening, to sit back and say, well, there's nothing I can do about it, or my vote doesn't count. That is not the case, because this country, this republic, is fueled by the civic engagement of the people. They work for us. And a lot of times I think citizens forget that. The citizenry forgets that. Yeah. We are here to make sure that those people who are in power are held accountable and are reminded who they answer to. And Martin Luther King said that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in a time of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. And that's the moment that we're in right now. And every single person, no matter where you are in life, no matter where you stand socioeconomically, no matter the color of your skin, your gender, every single person has an opportunity to do something that makes a difference to help save this country. And as Ida B. Wells once said, in order to right the wrongs, you have to shine the light of truth upon them. And that's what groups like ours do. And we're able to do that with the support of people out there who want to see the wrongs righted. So that's where we come from. And that's the role that every single person can play, even if it's just a small one. It matters.
Here. Absolutely. Well said. Okay, Crowdpac, you know what to do. And we're grateful for you. Thanks for spending this half hour with us. And